Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by, once again coming at you for one of my famed movie / Blu-ray reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing the movie and Blu-ray of Bloody Birthday, the movie from the early 80s, and this is the Arrow Video Blu-ray released in 2018. I'll be talking about the movie, then I'll talk about the Blu-ray after the fact. And as so often is the case, if I've got it available, I like to showcase other formats I've got a movie in. This is the original VHS from Prism Entertainment, dated 1986. I probably got, looks like I got it at a video update, probably in the early 2000s when they're purging all their VHS. I actually really like that cover. Obviously it's been cut down to fit into this clamshell, but what are you going to do? Intimidating kid with a gun there. So original Prism VHS from 1986. So obviously having gotten this Blu-ray, or this tape rather, in the early 2000s from Video Update, I obviously saw this for the first time in the early 2000s. I don't think I thought too terribly much of it. I probably only saw it the one time and maybe never again until just recently when I got the Blu-ray. But having rewatched it on the Blu-ray, I don't know, something maybe about the pristine quality of the Arrow Video presentation of the movie makes the movie maybe a little more enjoyable than it was on the old ratty, VHS version, because I found myself enjoying it quite a bit when I watched it recently, or when I watched for the first time this Arrow Video Blu-ray presentation of it. Basically, this is a story about these three kids, and it's kind of confusing. I don't know what their relation is, but I guess from what I can understand, the beginning of this movie takes place like in 1970, and these three kids, from what I can understand, are born all at the same time during this this eclipse. And these three, babies were born at the same time, and it's pretty much, it's funny because, like, what's his name in this frickin' movie? Is it Jose Ferrer is like a walk-on part, and it's like they make such a big deal about him in the credits, like, and also what do they say? Special appearance by Jose Ferrer, and he's the doctor that delivers these three Satan babies, or whatever the hell you want to call them, at the very beginning of the movie. And it's so abbreviated at the beginning, like how we just kind of see this eclipse go by in stages, and it's just like, oh, the babies are born or whatever. So it's really abbreviated. Cut to 10 years later in 1980, these kids are obviously 10 years old or whatever. We cut to a kind of an atmospheric scene, and so many of these slasher movies from the early 80s, I love how they all do the same thing with, like, a couple making out, whether it's just in a parked car. In this case, it's like a graveyard, and they're like, I don't know, she's like, the guy's like, come on baby, and she's like, I don't know, someone will see. So this guy's bright romantic idea is to actually, seduce her, get into a grave, freshly dug grave, and make out and hopefully have some sex in this freshly dug grave, which I thought was really just funny, like the ultimate in romance. Having sex in a freshly dug grave. I mean, I don't think even I'd want to do that. So that I think we see a little bit of boobies, of course, in this. I think there's like, I think we see little boobies in this scene. There's actually 3 separate pairs of boobies in this movie, I think, minimum. So, which is kind of fun for us hetero males and stuff. But I actually love the opening of this movie where they're making out and doing this and whatever in the freshly dug grave, and the dirt's falling on him, and this guy gets like hit in the head with a shovel, and then the girl gets choked to death with a jump rope, and I don't remember how I think the guy ends up getting whacked over and over in the head with the shovel or whatever until he's dead. So of course, we don't see who's doing this, but that's the opening scene of the movie, and that cuts, I think, to like a school day or something like that, when the kids are in school or something, and the sheriff is like talking to the kids like, oh, okay kids, now this murder happened around here, and there's this one piece of this, the end of this one, the handle to this one jump rope missing, or here's the jump rope, and I don't know. Yeah, I think the one handle came off or something like that. Oh, maybe they had the one handle as a piece of evidence, and they're asking the kids if anyone's seen the rest of this rope, and if they've seen anything suspicious, whatever. We find out that the sheriff guy is actually the dad of this one blonde girl. I think she's one of the 3 kids that were born 10 years ago on the eclipse thing, and I'm not exactly sure the relation of these. Then there's two other boys, and I don't think they're related. I don't know. These are all. I think these are all kids that aren't related, but they were just born at the same time. I don't exactly know about. That's kind of vague or whatever, but just through glances and this and that between these three kids, we kind of already know that these are the bad kids of the movie. And not long into the movie, I was surprised rewatching it recently when, they're playing at home, and of course this blonde girl's playing with these two other boys. These three kind of just, pretty much inseparable and stuff. The three devil children. I mean, they don't call them that in the movie, but I'm kind of calling them the Satan babies / Satan children. Are always hanging out together, and they basically, put this skateboard on the steps and say like, hey Dad, come on out and let me show you something. And he comes out, and there's a suspense scene where he's like, oh my God, he's going to slip on the skateboard. And he just like walks down the steps right over the skateboard. And it's just like, what do you got to show me? And he kneels down at the daughter, and it's just like, this kid behind him's got a baseball bat, and he's like, I think he hits Dad like repeatedly, I think. At least once, I don't know how many. It seems like he maybe hits him more than once and kills Dad. Kills her dad. One of the boys kills her dad with the baseball bat, and it's just like, holy crap, this is like really pretty early on, like maybe first 15 or 20 minutes in the movie. It's just like, wow, I don't remember this movie going there so quickly. And I gotta admit, that's really kind of a cool thing to just like, because you kind of have this idea that maybe they're just going to pussyfoot around these kids killing people for the first half of the first half or 2/3 of this movie, and all of a sudden you're just seeing this kid, bludgeon the sheriff guy to death with a baseball bat. It's just like, whoa, that really kind of goes there. So that was just like, oh my gosh. So the second bit of TNA in this movie is this, the blonde girl's older sister is pretty damn hot in this movie, that just does this, this freaking just dance. I don't know if girls do this, I hope so, but it doesn't really benefit me if I'm not there looking through the peephole. But basically this blonde girl charges the other two, what I'll just call Satan boys, some 25 cents to peep through, her closet, this hole they made in the closet, which goes into the big sister's bedroom. So, when the music's on, I guess I guess it's this daily thing where big sis, dances to music and strips and looks at herself in mirrors and stuff. I mean, if I were her, I'd probably do the same thing with that body. But, it's just little kind of funny. I mean, these kids are just bad, just nothing but bad. And this little blonde cis girl is already like 9 or 10 years old, already, pimp, and she's probably gonna, grow up to run a brothel someday. I mean, shit, look at what she's doing at 10, charging neighborhood boys to peep in on sis dancing around. But I gotta admit, I only watched that scene once when I watched this last night, and, I have a mind to watch that scene again where big sis is dancing. It's pretty, it's pretty hot and pretty just like, oh my God, just blatant nudity for a horror movie, and oh my gosh. Then there's this other what I just call the good boy. This good boy and sister. I think the parents are gone out of town, and big sis is kind of watching this what I just call good boy, the boy that's just friends with these others, the Satan trio or whatever, and not a bad kid. And they're playing in the junkyard, and one of the bad kids locks them in this freezer or fridge thing, or probably just locked them there just to have them starve to death and die or suffocate or whatever. The kid ends up, very MacGyverly manages to pick his way out of the cooler and goes home and tells this. And I don't know if she believes him or not. I guess it doesn't really matter. But at that point, obviously, the kid, the good boy knows that these kids are up to no good, and it's just like the plot kind of, I don't know, it gets a little more interesting once, that the good boy is made privy of what this, trio of Satan kids, is up to and capable of and willing to do or whatever. It's just like all of a sudden I don't think he's really likes, I don't think he really has a problem with all three of them. He probably just has a problem with that one because he doesn't know they're all in on it together yet, because later on that kid briefly hangs around with the blonde girl, and she was going to push him off this treehouse onto a spike, and that doesn't work out. So it's not like he instantly knows that all three kids are bad, just that one kid or whatever. Then, I don't know if it's 20-25 minutes into the movie, the kids plan to kill this one teacher that they think is just a pain in the ass and just annoyance, that just is so strict and whatever, kind of teacher, and this one kid. Oh yeah, basically this is really unrealistic. You know, the young blonde girls who, you know, her dad was formerly the sheriff before they killed him. You know, dad would come home and just like put his gun up in this closet, you know, and not even lock it from what I can see, and it's just like unrealistic. But it's a horror movie, it's a slasher movie from the early '80s, whatever. And basically the kids, you know, take this, you know, replica gun and replace it with dead sheriff's dad's real gun he used for police work and all this kind of stuff, brings it to school, points it at this teacher, and she just thinks it's freaking replica gun, and if you bring that replica gun to school again, I'll take it away and never give it back. And then the kid proceeds to shoot dead the teacher right in school, and it's just like, oh my god, these were the days, man, because of all the, you know, BS, this and that going on in the world now, and in particular the country that, what they say is going on, I should say, rather than what's going on with the supposed school shootings and all this kind of, you know, propaganda bullshit. I mean, this movie is such, it's just, not that it's fun to see these things depicted, but, you know, it's not real life, it's a movie, but I mean, I'm just saying that when I watched this last night, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great, because the good old days of just like anything goes in a movie, because now you even speak of something like a kid bringing a gun to school and shooting a teacher, you're going to get pretty much locked in jail, and here this movie just depicts it, and it's just like, oh my god, this movie really goes there, and it just shows you how far we've come in just, you know, brainwashing the masses, and just like, you know, just like, I don't know what, you know, just, oh, well, this movie's going to be 40 years old, so just in like a generation's time, we've gone from a wonderful movie about kids, you know, shooting teachers at school to now, ooh, you know, all schools got metal detectors and all this shit. So this scene, or this movie, as I watched it last night, rewatched it for the first time in probably quite a while, I was just like, when the kids kill, I'm just like, wow, this movie really goes there. Last time I seen this, things weren't nearly as bad as they are now in regards to, you know, supposed school shootings and all this kind of bullshit, and, you know, fabricated, just scary events that, you know, are reported in the media in North America and all this stuff. So, you know, this movie impacts one, you know, person a lot more now, being nearly 2020. Just like, oh my god, this movie really goes there, and if people saw this now, they would just like freak out and be like, oh, I gotta call the cops because I watched this movie. Oh yeah, and then not long after they, you know, they shoot the teacher, they stuff her in a closet or something like that, and the big sister of the good boy is, I don't know why I don't know if she goes to the set, I don't understand why. Oh no, she's like a teacher's aide or something like that. She ends up finding the body, opening the closet, and the body falls out. And it's just like, it's so funny because it's like, they throughout the course of this movie, they continually have like funerals. I don't know if there's like 2 or 3 funerals, you know, when the, you know, they find the dead teens or whatever dead in the grave, which is such a great place to kill people in a freshly dug grave. I didn't even mention the irony of that, and then it's just like, we have a funeral, I think, and then you know, Sheriff Dad dies, we have a funeral, then the teacher dies, we have a funeral. I don't know if we showed the funeral for the teens that were, you know, killed in the grave or not, but I think we showed like a brief, you know, funeral for dead dad and dead teacher or whatever. It's just like they're having like 2 or 3 funerals a week, which is really kind of funny, and everyone's just befuddled. What's happening to our small town? Like, what's going on here? This is, you know, this is really scary, and you know, it definitely would be if it were happening in your town, I guess. Then there's this cool scene where the, you know, Satan trio lure the big sis of the good, you know, the big sis of the, you know, the younger brother, the good kids, to this junkyard, and this really cool scene where they, you know, one of these kids with the glasses or whatever is kind of this geek, so he's really good at electronics and hot wiring shit. He ends up hot wiring a junk car in the junkyard, and gonna basically lure Big Sis there to kill her and run her down in the car. And this scene's actually kind of cool, and the kid's wearing like a blanket over his head with holes cut in it, and then the rope around his neck kind of looks like the, you know, Tom Dreaded Sundown Killer. And it's a really cool scene for a low budget movie, this little brief cat and mouse with the car, and one of the kids is like steering and one of the kids is working the pedals and stuff and trying to run down, you know, the good sis. Of course, you know, she's one of the, you know, she's a good sis, or, you know, Laurie Strode of this movie, kind of, if you will, so she doesn't die. But it just was kind of a cool scene. At the end of the scene, they kind of roll the car off this little thing and it goes crash, and it's just like, wow, that look of the blanket over the head with the eye holes cut out and the the rope around the neck was a really cool look. And by this time of the movie, you're just like, someone just, someone catch these kids and put them in a cage. Like, as a viewer, it actually does, I did find myself anxious, kind of, anxiety, anxious watching this movie. The more these kids get away with, it's just like, God damn, someone put these kids in a closet and throw away the key, will ya? Oh, this movie is kind of cool for you American Ninja fans because it features a young pre-American Ninja, Michael Dudikoff, or however the hell you say his name, the guy who would go on to be the star of American Ninja 1 and 2, and I don't know, he was in another sequel or whatever. But yeah, for you fans of that guy, this is probably one of his early movies. So it's a shame because when I first saw him, I'm like, oh wow, he's in this. He's the boyfriend, I think, of the older sister of the blonde, the one who dances naked and looks at herself in mirrors and stuff. And I was just like, oh wow, he's in this, that'll be fun. And it's like he was barely even shown in the movie, which is kind of a bummer. But what are you going to do? At least you get to see a young pre-American Ninja Michael Dudikoff, or however the hell you say his last name. Then, I don't know if it's halfway through or maybe an hour, somewhere around the hour mark of this movie, there's this random couple in a van that, frickin' just park on the side of the road, kind of like Halloween. That's probably kind of ripping off Halloween to an extent. They just park in a van, getting back, and God, the chick in this scene is really hot. They both basically get naked and they, have some sex. And what's so funny is before you see these kids, park and pull over and have sex, the one nerd kid with the glasses is just like walking around the neighborhood. This is kind of scary, kind of creepy. Walking around the neighborhood, just looking in the backyards, and he's got the handgun. He's just looking to kill people, but he'll point it at someone, and then something will happen where he's, someone else says, "Hey, come in for dinner" or whatever, and he's like, "Darn it," and he'll go somewhere else and try to point to someone else, and it's doesn't work out, and basically then we show this couple having sex in the van, and the chick's like naked and she's pretty hot, and they're having sex in this van, and of course I think both of these kids who had sex in the van end up getting shot like point blank by this kid. And god dang, you watch this movie and you're just like, I can't believe that this movie was ever made. And to be honest, I can't, the way the pussy ass pansy ass way things are now, I can't believe that they're even, that anyone's even able to distribute this movie, to be honest. But it's probably because the federal government doesn't know anything about this movie. But it's just like, I'm kind of glad they probably don't or whatever, because it's really, really, as kind of scary as I said once before, as this movie of kids killing people, going around town killing people is, it's kind of refreshing in today's overly, PC, just pansy ass era to see it. Not that I want or advocate for this kind of thing to happen in real life, but it's just kind of crazy to see. As I said already, we've been so at nearly 2020, we've been so brainwashed and pansy-sized by North American media and stuff, that it's just like, wow, seeing this movie once again is just like, wow, it's really goes there. And it seems like when he shoots the guy like in the van, he's just like like 2 or 3 shots, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Basically, the blonde, the blonde of the 3 trio Satan children, basically keeps this clipping book where, this booklet of clippings from the newspapers, so that they're keeping like of all their victims, like her, I think her sheriff dad, no, probably the kids in the graveyard are probably the first one, sheriff dad, teacher, everyone that they kill, they clip out the clipping from the newspaper and have this, kind of memoirs, happy memoirs book of it. And later on towards the end of the movie, the hot sister who dances naked in the mirror and watches herself finds this thing, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And basically at that point, I'm going to tell mom or whatever, and at that point, little sis proceeds to, using that peephole from her closet door, or from her closet in the little sister's bedrooms, takes this bow and arrow and basically makes a sound to kind of make big sis go huh, and then shoots big sis in the eye with the arrow, and it's through that little peephole, and it's just like, oh my god, like just when you thought this movie couldn't go any further, it does, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what am I watching? And it's kind of convincing in a way, the way they clean up the crime scenes all the time, and if there's blood on the carpet, the blonde girl tells mom, oh, I just spilled some of her nail polish and all this kind of stuff. And just imagine the trauma of the mom, having lost her husband, sheriff husband, and then she's gonna lose the frickin' you know, her oldest daughter, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this movie it really goes there. So I think because of the trauma of, you know, that mom, as I said, discovering or finding out that, you know, her oldest daughter has been killed, I think she's got to go, I don't know what, stay in a hospital or stay somewhere. Maybe she's got a breakdown or something, which basically leaves the three, you know, Satan kids in the charge of the good sis and the good little brother. And of course they plan to kill them while they're being babysat by them or whatever. Well, yeah, so I don't know. I think, well, since they're not all related, she's probably watching the blonde, and then the other two boys come over, and you know, the plan is to kill them or whatever. And you know, it's the end scene where it's just like, you know, these Satan kids trying to kill the good sis and the good kid and stuff, and the good younger brother, is really kind of cool. And you know, they're shooting at him, and the blonde tries to choke the boy with the rope, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And the scene is, the cat and mouse scene is really kind of cool. No one ends up dying. You kind of, at this point, you almost want to see, you know, some of these devil kids die. None of them die. None of the three kids, or none of the, you know, two of the good, you know, big sis and little brother. You know, basically, I don't exactly remember how, but the two boys end up being caught in the act or whatever, and they end up being, you know, taken to some kind of juvenile detention center or something like that. But the blonde girl gets off free, and she's kind of fleeing the scene when mom's driving back, and I think mom just doesn't even want to, after having all this, you know, bullshit in her life and all this hell for the past few weeks and months or however long this movie takes place over, she doesn't want, she just basically, you know, collects the fleeing blonde little young daughter and just turns around and just, you know, goes on the run basically. She doesn't even want to know anymore what the hell's going on. And at the end of the movie, they can be seen like checking out of a motel room, and this girl's playing with a jack, and you know, a little jack to jack up a car, and she's like, "Come on, you're gonna be my good little girl now." "Yes, mommy." And they get in the car, drive away, and the camera pans over to see this, you know, trucker guy with the, you know, tire off, you know, the truck, and he's like, it's down, and it's like, you know, basically indicating that the girl took off the jack when the guy was under it and splatted him or whatever. So, you know, I didn't really intend to do kind of a beat by beat, but as always often tends to be the case, you know, recently I kind of accidentally did. That's my review of Bloody Birthday. I'm going to go 2 3/4 stars out of 4 stars for Bloody Birthday upon rewatching it again, in particular in the pristine Arrow Video version on Blu-ray. I mean, I found this to be actually kind of fun to watch. I will say, because one of the downfalls of it, you know, like the scenes where they're killing, you know, adults, so that starts happening so quick in the movie. I think as a result, you know, if you were to do the movie, like I say, maybe the first third or first half of the movie where you don't show the killers, I don't know. I think just as a result of, you know, blatantly just showing the kids killing people from such an early point in the movie, for me, even though the movie's only like 80-something minutes long, I found it like halfway through the movie, it kind of, I don't know, for me, like it's slowing down, the movie's slowing down, or getting like, I don't know, just feeling like it's just getting a little slow, maybe halfway or the hour mark or something like that. And it's kind of, I don't kind of understand why, because they don't, you know, when you think of the movie as a whole, it's like stuff is constantly happening, so I'm not exactly sure why it felt like that, but I remember it did. So, but I mean, I would mostly recommend this movie, and I would highly recommend the recently released last year Arrow Video Blu-ray of it, with a brand new 2K restoration from original film elements, original uncompressed mono audio, and brand new audio commentary with director Ed Hunt. I didn't listen to the commentary. There's a brand new audio commentary with Hysteria Continues. I never do those. Bloody Babysitter, a new interview with the actress who played the babysitter, Bad Seeds and Body Counts. You can see all these special edition contents on your screen. Pause it if you want to read them all. I will say that, you know, compared to a lot of Arrow Video releases, I guess the special features leave a little bit to be desired. It would have been nice to have interview with some of the kids, you know, some of the people who played, the adults now who played the kids in the movie. All we have is basically an interview with the girl who played the woman who played the babysitter. Then there's like an archival interview from, I think, the 80s or early 90s or something, with the guy who was the executive producer on the movie as well. I watched just the very beginning of that and didn't watch anymore. But the important part, you know, special features aside, I mean, the important part of a release like this, or most important part to me, of course, is the Blu-ray or the video quality, and the quality is absolutely fantastic. I didn't notice, obviously this movie is going to be mono as well, I didn't notice any sound issues, hiss, or any kind of negative anomalies with the sound. The movie looks absolutely just beautiful, and as I said, I really think this pristine presentation actually really adds to the movie's enjoyability compared to watching it, you know, back when I did probably early 2000s on this VHS version. I don't remember this really leaving that much of an impression, but when I watched this version last night, I'm like, wow, you know, it's not the, you know, it's not the greatest or most amazing movie in the world. It's just a really kind of fun early 80s slasher, and it's just, you know, yeah, there's movies like Bad Seed and The Omen and this kind of stuff, Village, you know, Village of the Damned or whatever, all these kind of kid, you know, killer movies and stuff like that. But, you know, for me, you know, especially in the early 80s genre, you know, slasher genre, it's really kind of rare to see a movie where basically the kids are the killers. So it's kind of fun in that regard, and kind of unique as well. So I would recommend the movie and highly recommend the Arrow Video Blu-ray, as is oftentimes the case with a release like that. This is newly commissioned cover art. You've got the option for this newly commissioned cover art, or this artwork, which incidentally I prefer. It's like probably the original poster art or the original art that was featured on the actually, yeah, VHS. It's actually not the same. It's like a, like here's, well, I'll show it on a different way, but yeah, it's not the same. I want to say maybe they couldn't even find the original art, and they recreated this art as well. Actually, I just realized now that it's not the same art. I mean, this is actually better on the VHS. It's like a recreation of this, so I'm not exactly sure what the deal is with that. So I still probably prefer this compared to the other artwork that I showed you originally. But so anyway, I guess that'll pretty much do it. Incidentally, this is a region A, B, and C. I think that probably means all region. Blu-ray, you know, a mostly recommended movie from the early 80s slasher. It's really, in closing, as I already said, it's really fun to see, you know, instead of just a silent mask-wearing killer or something like that, it's kind of funny to see a trio of three, you know, 10-year-old, you know, just evil kids. And one of the things that they kind of said about, you know, them being born during the eclipse or whatever, that, yeah, I know, that's bright, is, you know, that maybe being, you know, born during the eclipse or whatever made them, gosh, that is bright. Well, see, if I adjust it, then it'll just do this and it'll get too dark, and you just bear with me. So maybe that, you know, they just have no feelings, or you know those, some of them kids. Well, it's really scary, as having been a kid myself. I mean, there's a lot of bad kids, and it's just like, I'm just glad I'm not a kid anymore, because hanging around with some of these kids really. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, but I don't know what the hell I was saying. The brightness kind of, see what I mean? If I would have adjusted it, then it would have just gone dark, and it's just like, I tell you, this time of year it can be really tricky when you've got a sunny and a cloudy, sunny/cloudy day. Anyway, I'm just rambling. Oh, I almost forgot to show you guys this. This is something that I saw in the movie. There was this scene towards the end of the movie where the kids are going to strangle the good boy with a hose, and on the other end of the hose there's a sprinkler, and I watched this last night and I'm like, oh my god, we had that sprinkler. We not only had, but still have it. And I dug it out, and this is a, you know, the same, it's not the obviously screen used, but it's the exact same sprinkler that was in the movie Bloody Birthday, where it was like dragged, you know, across the lawn. That's kind of what, by the hose, as they were strangling the kid with the hose, that's what you clued big sister into the fact that something was going on. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we had that, and we probably still do, or I probably still do. And then I dug around for it a little bit, and sure enough, I found it. It's a square spray sprinkler, and this exact same kind of sprinkler was briefly featured in the movie. And I'm like, oh man, that'd be just so cool to showcase for you guys. There's not probably a lot of these still around. And oh, look at that, it gets the corners. I don't know what that means. Corners of the lawn, I guess. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. A 40-year-old, you know, basically a really high-class metal sprinkler. I mean, nothing like this would ever be, I mean, this would be completely plastic now. Basically when, you know, the water shoots out of it, it spins this thing around and it, you know, distributes the water that way. But I just want to close the video just showcasing the the square spray sprinkler. It gets the corners, and obviously this end here, I would imagine you could undo and attach another hose to it and just have, like, if you wanted to buy several of these and just, you know, have them all over the yard or whatever, you can do that if you want. So I know this video is probably too long as it is, but I couldn't let the video end without showing the square spray sprinkler as featured in the movie Bloody Birthday. It gets the corners, so that's a good thing to know. So as always, thank you very much for watching this video, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.